So picture this. You're gripping the steering wheel. The sun is just glaring right through the windshield. Your phone is, buzzing with like three different crises, and you haven't even walked into your first meeting of the
Oh,
morning.
yeah. That is a deeply familiar feeling for a lot of people.
Right. You are running on absolute fumes, but the prevailing message from the world around you is just to push a little harder or, I don't know, optimize your routine and somehow just magically find another gear.
Which is, quite frankly, exhausting just to hear.
Exactly. And if you are tuning in right now feeling that precise kind of suffocating pressure, this deep dive is engineered entirely for you.
Yeah, because we were looking at a really fascinating piece of source material today that completely rejects that whole push harder narrative. It's actually a trailer script for an upcoming audio project. It's called From Within.
I love that title, by the way. And an audio trailer script is honestly a lot like a restaurant menu.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Yeah, because it tells you exactly what the creator thinks you're starving for, right? They're putting their finger on a very specific societal hunger. And our mission today is to deconstruct this script. Okay, let's unpack this and figure out how it so accurately diagnoses this modern epidemic of exhaustion.
And more importantly, the roadmap it offers to actually get out of it. Because we're bypassing the generic, take a bubble bath, burnout advice. We're looking at the actual mechanics of why we feel so empty.
So the script doesn't waste any time getting to that emptiness, does it?
Not at all. I mean, it drops the listener immediately into this really jarring contrast of modern life. The opening imagery paints this intense picture of a world moving at absolute top speed.
Right, the sun is up, responsibilities are waiting.
Exactly. Screens are demanding your attention.
Yeah.
But internally, the listener just feels like a car with no fuel.
The sensory details there are they're so deliberate. You have this loud, demanding external environment, buzzing phones, the moving world versus this completely hollow, empty internal state.
Yeah, it literally explicitly names the feeling that simply breathing feels like a chore.
Wait, breathing feels like a chore. I mean, that is heavy.
It is heavy. And then it points a finger directly at the cause. It calls out our current cultural operating system, the one that constantly demands us to do more, be more, and prove more without ever offering the space to recover.
Okay, that phrase right there, prove more. So what does this all mean for how we view our daily routines?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the phrase prove more is really the linchpin of that entire opening. It elevates the discussion from just, simple physical tiredness to deep psychological depletion.
Like it's not just about a lack of sleep anymore.
Exactly. We are no longer just talking about completing tasks on a to-do list. We are talking about existential justification.
Wow. Existential justification.
Yeah, because in this environment, your rest is treated as something you have to earn through relentless productivity. If you aren't producing, you basically have to prove your worth.
Which creates a scenario where we view our own exhaustion as a personal failure, right? Like we look at our empty gas tank and think we are fundamentally flawed for not being able to keep driving.
Precisely. And that is the subtle but honestly profound psychological intervention this group performs right out of the gate.
How so?
By framing this state of total depletion as a consequence of a world that asks us to constantly justify our existence, it shifts the blame. It basically articulates that this level of exhaustion is a completely natural reaction to a deeply unnatural societal environment.
That makes so much sense. I mean, think about it like this. If you take a plant, right, and you put it in a dark closet and its leaves start turning brown and falling off.
You don't blame the plant.
Right. You don't look at the plant and call it weak. You don't, criticize its lack of resilience. You recognize that it simply doesn't have the environment required to thrive.
And the script does exactly that for the listener. It validates the depletion not as a lack of willpower, but as the inevitable, just logical outcome of living in an ecosystem that extracts endless energy without ever providing a refueling station.
Because we aren't built for that, biologically speaking.
No, we are biologically wired for cycles of stress and recovery. But the modern environment only really offers the stress component.
And the text actually zeroes in on the specific nature of that stress, which I found super interesting. It identifies this triad, like 3 hidden pillars of invisible weights that are draining our fuel.
Yeah, the 3 culprits.
Right. It points to the silent weight of grief, the slow buildup of daily stress, and the constant pressure to be the strong one for everyone else.
The language there focuses heavily on the imperceptible nature of the burden. You notice words like silent and slow buildup.
Yeah, they're sneaky.
Exactly. These are burdens that sneak up on a person, without any obvious outward signs.
Mm.
I mean, if you break your arm, there is a jagged white line on an X-ray. People open doors for you, they bring you casseroles. Society understands a visible fracture.
But with the slow buildup of daily stress, you look completely functional on the outside.
Yes, you're still answering emails, you're showing up to family events, you're managing the calendar. And because there's no cast, no visible wound, the world just assumes you have the capacity to keep taking on more.
Which creates this really dangerous feedback loop. The more functional you appear, the more weight people just casually hand you until the internal architecture finally just gives way.
It's a perfect storm.
I do want to challenge one specific grouping in that triad, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
The script places being the strong one for everyone else on the exact same level as grief. And, I mean, grief is universally recognized as this monumental, earth-shattering human experience, right?
Right, it's a massive life event.
Yeah, but being the strong one, that just sounds like, being a responsible adult or a good parent or just a reliable coworker. Equating the two feels like kind of a stretch at first glance.
I get why you'd say that.
Okay.
It does feel like a radical comparison. But it is deeply rooted in how emotional labor actually affects our neurobiology.
Really? How so?
Well, culturally, we validate grief. We understand it as a heavy load. But we celebrate the strong one. We reward the person who acts as the rock.
Right.
We praise them for holding it all together.
Oh, totally. They get all the praise.
Right. But what the script is doing is shining a light on the hidden, really catastrophic toll of that emotional labor.
Because acting as the strong one means you are constantly regulating yourself so others don't have to. You're basically functioning as a shock absorber.
That is a perfect analogy. And a shock absorber takes a massive beating over time. From a biological perspective, when you are the designated strong one, you are engaging in constant emotional co-regulation.
Okay, break that down for me. Co-regulation.
It means you are actively absorbing the anxiety, the stress, and the turbulence of your family, your workplace, or your friend group. Your prefrontal cortex is working double time to suppress your own stress responses so you can manage the environment for everyone else.
Oh, wow. Wait, so you're essentially carrying everyone else's nervous system on top of your own.
Literally, yes.
Which completely reframes the whole concept of being reliable. It elevates emotional labor to its rightful place as this profound psychological weight. It validates that, holding everyone else together can fracture you just as thoroughly as a major life loss.
Exactly. And once the script identifies this massive invisible burden, it immediately pivots to the emotional core of the piece. It offers a total absolution of the guilt associated with carrying it.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. Those lines are arguably the most potent part of the trailer.
I'd agree with that.
The host says, and I'm quoting here, "You are not lazy, you're not weak, and you are most definitely not broken. You are a human being who has been carrying too much for too long without a safe place to set it down."
It's powerful.
It immediately makes me think of the physical sensation of taking off a heavy backpack after like a 20-mile hike in the mountains.
Oh man, the physical relief of dropping that weight is just instantaneous.
Right. When you are at mile 19, your shoulders are just screaming, and you feel like your spine is literally collapsing. The pain is agonizing. But the second you unbuckle that bag and let it hit the dirt, the realization you have is crucial.
Which is?
The pain wasn't a structural flaw in your spine. You weren't intrinsically broken. It was just the sheer overwhelming weight of the bag you were carrying.
That is the exact psychological shift the script is engineering right there. It moves the listener from a place of intense, internal guilt to a place of objective reality.
Because we usually blame ourselves.
We do. When we are exhausted and failing to keep up with the demands to prove more, our default societal programming kicks in. We internalize the exhaustion as a moral failure.
The internal monologue just becomes, "I'm not working hard enough. Something is fundamentally wrong with my drive."
Exactly. But with that backpack analogy, we separate the heavy load from our identity. The script intervenes and says, look at the objective reality. Look at the weight of the bag.
It completely severs the link between exhaustion and shame. Like, you aren't a defective engine. You are just a perfectly functioning engine that has been run entirely dry.
And the end of that sentence in the script is equally important. Without a safe place to set it down.
Oh, right.
It implies that the sheer volume of what we carry isn't the entire problem. The true cause of the burnout is the chronic nature of the carrying.
The fact that it never ends.
Right, is the absolute lack of a refuge. The human mind can actually carry immense weight for short sprints, provided there is a designated place to drop it and recover.
Which brings us to the actual methodology the script proposes. Because, validation feels incredibly good. It is a massive relief to hear that you aren't broken.
But it's not enough on its own.
Exactly. A trailer has to promise a solution. You can't just tell someone the bag is heavy and then leave them stranded on the trail. You have to give them a blueprint for rising.
And the text explicitly identifies its audience for this blueprint. It calls them everyday dreamers and tired souls.
Tired souls. That is so evocative.
It is. And the solution it offers is highly specific. It promises to explore the hard science behind why minds and bodies get exhausted, coupled with small daily habits that rebuild inner strength.
So I have to ask, the emphasis on small daily habits really struck me, because usually when people hit this critical level of burnout, when simply breathing is a chore, the instinct is to swing in the complete opposite direction, right?
Oh, absolutely. We fantasize about the massive life overhaul.
Exactly. Quitting the job, selling the house, moving to a freaking cabin in the woods, or doing like a month-long silent retreat. But this script entirely rejects the grand overhaul in favor of tiny steps. Why is that?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, a massive life overhaul is really just a fantasy built on a misunderstanding of cognitive load.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Think about the demographic they just defined. Tired souls. If you go to a profoundly exhausted person and tell them the only way to heal is to completely restructure their career, redefine all their boundaries, and implement some rigorous new wellness protocol, you haven't given them a cure.
You've just handed them another heavy backpack.
Exactly.
You've given them another arena where they have to perform and prove their worth.
Yes. A major life change requires a massive amount of executive function and metabolic energy. It actually triggers the brain's threat response. And tired souls simply do not have the capital for that.
They're already running on fumes.
Right. So by promising small daily habits, the script offers the only neurobiologically feasible way out of burnout. Small steps bypass the amygdala's alarm system. They don't trigger overwhelm. It is a deep structural respect for the listener's lack of fuel.
I love that. You can't ask a car with an empty tank to drive 50 miles to the mechanic. You just have to walk a few feet and put a single gallon of gas in the tank just to get the engine turning over.
That's a great way to put it.
And, that deep respect for the listener's depleted state isn't just in the written words either. It is literally physically engineered into the audio directions of the script.
Yes, the sound design.
Exactly. This is where we move from the philosophy of the text to the actual architecture of empathy in the sound design.
The environmental design for the listener's ears is just meticulously planned.
Right at the top, before a single word is even spoken, the script calls for soft, cinematic piano chords layered beneath a gentle, steady heartbeat rhythm.
Setting the stage immediately.
And then it directs the host to take a deep, calming breath directly into the microphone. Later on, it contrasts this gentle opening with warm piano music that swells into a hopeful, inspiring crescendo.
It's a whole journey.
It is. If this audio experience were a physical room you were walking into from a chaotic, noisy street, these auditory cues are the soft lighting. They are the comfortable chair strategically placed to make your shoulders drop the moment you cross the threshold.
And the thing is, that isn't just a mood-setting aesthetic choice. Writing a heartbeat rhythm and a deep, calming breath into an audio script is a literal physiological tool.
Based on how our nervous systems interact with our environment.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the concept of somatic empathy, because our bodies are constantly scanning our surroundings for cues on how to behave.
Like constantly looking for threats?
Yes. When your phone is buzzing and you are trapped in that cycle of proving more, your sympathetic nervous system is highly engaged. You are trapped in a fight or flight response. Your body is flooded with cortisol. Your heart rate is elevated. Your breathing is shallow.
Just absolute panic mode.
Right. But humans are deeply attuned to mirroring the physiological cues of the people and environments around us. It is an evolutionary survival mechanism called entrainment.
Entrainment. Okay, so if someone speaks to you in a frantic, panicked tone, your own heart rate spikes.
Yes, you match their energy.
Right. Conversely, when a listener puts their headphones in, and the very first thing their brain processes is a slow, steady, 60 beat per minute heartbeat rhythm, along with the sound of a human taking a deliberate, calming breath, their nervous system instinctively begins to sync to that rhythm.
Exactly. Without any conscious effort from the listener, their own breathing slows down to match the host. Their heart rate stabilizes to match the underlying audio track.
That is wild.
The production is physically manifesting the safe space the text talks about. Before the host even tells the listener they are safe, the listener's biology is receiving the auditory signal that the immediate danger has passed.
It is calming the body before it even attempts to address the mind.
Yes, because it acknowledges that you cannot reason a person out of a biological stress loop. You have to alter their physical state first.
And then, once that physiological safety is established and the message is delivered, the audio journey mirrors the narrative journey. It ends with that hopeful, inspiring crescendo, moving the listener from a state of exhaustion and shallow breathing to this rising, hopeful energy.
It perfectly ties the entire mission of the trailer together. It really acknowledges the crushing weight of modern expectations. It validates the invisible burdens of emotional labor. And then it provides a meticulously constructed off-ramp.
An off-ramp, I like that. It reiterates a deeply hopeful conclusion, too, which is that your story isn't over, it is just beginning.
Bringing it all full circle.
Exactly. It circles back to the title of the project, From Within. Because the core thesis is that the external world will always be loud. The buzzing phones and the demands to do more, they aren't going to vanish. The world will not just hand you a safe space.
No, it certainly won't.
Right. The rebuilding of that inner strength and the power to rise again has to be generated internally through those small, gentle steps.
And honestly, it requires an incredible amount of self-reflection to even begin that process. Acknowledging the weight is only the first step.
Which leaves us with a pretty challenging thought to mull over today as we wrap up.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, the script beautifully notes that you have been carrying too much without a safe place to set it down. It gives you permission to finally drop the bag. But if you are someone who has spent your entire life functioning as the strong one for everyone else...
If you've been that shock absorber we talked about.
Exactly. If you have operated as the shock absorber for your family, your friends, your workplace for decades, do you even know what your safe place looks like anymore?
Wow. That's a profound question.
Right. If you've been carrying the weight for so long that it literally feels like a part of your own spine, have you completely forgotten how to actually unclasp the buckles?